So good afternoon, everyone. I have the difficult task to keep you awake after a light lunch, and I have also the difficult task to talk to you about transformation and new technology while being an incumbent telco company where the challenge is how are we dealing with the current disruption in the market. Very quickly, who we are, I don't know if everybody knows Proximus. We are the incumbent, the main telco provider in Belgium. We have a 6 billion turnover, 14,000 people. And I think most important here is that we invest every single year 1 billion euro in network, in IT solution and in content. So a huge amount of money for a small country like Belgium, just to make sure that we can provide you, our customers, with the needed data. Just as a matter of example, more and more the telco world is a world that goes exponential and no more linear. If you look at the consumption of mobile data, it is doubling every single year. If you put that in a graph, you really see, like that, the exponential curve. One of the main challenges we have as telco is how do we cope with these increasing demands? How do we make sure we have enough funds and authorization to invest in the network to answer the demand? And most of it, how do we make sure we get a return on investment? Because I am sure you are not ready to pay double the price every single year for the usage of data. So a big challenge for us is how you make that work. Another challenge, and sometimes I say we've probably done a very bad work at marketing in the past, because if you look at Apple, for instance, everybody is very happy to pay 900 euro to buy a new iPhone every 2 years. But nobody is happy to pay 20 euro a month just to make it work. And that's very often what telco asks, is around 20 euro a month on average ARPU to make it work. And every 2 years, you're ready to pay 900. So there is a very strong imbalance in the perception in terms of how you make it work, the price you pay for that, and the price of the smartphone or the iPhone. So in that sense, probably very bad work done by telco in the past to make sure that you understand the big investment that is needed just to provide the right technology. Very quickly, I mean, how do we cope with the changes? We are disrupted. We are disrupted by OTT in the content area, like the Netflix of this world, the HBO of this world. We are disrupted very much on voice by people like WhatsApp, like Microsoft with Skype. So more and more of our industry, which used to have quite a lot of revenue from voice, is more and more disrupted on this area. And we are more and more becoming data provider. And if you say data provider, the question is how you monetize it, or you avoid to become a dumb pipe. And so the whole question is how do you make sure you provide your customer not with products, not with infrastructure, but with solutions, with services that answer their needs, and thereby climbing up the ladder of value by having your network component, having your platform component, and having your application component, and providing customers with full solutions. Here, some of them on the consumer side. We, of course, make sure that you can work on all devices, so integrating fixed and mobile, making sure you have access to all the content by being an aggregator of content, making sure you can get the main channels, the sports, the OTT that are easily integrated in the platforms on all the devices, on the big screen, on the lap, on the tablet, on your mobile, and of course making sure that more and more everything you use at home is being secured, is being easy to use, integrating cloud solutions, integrating security options, integrating Microsoft Office, for instance, to make sure that you can work with that. That's, for instance, what we try to do in the consumer world. If I go to the enterprise market, there we evolve very much from a very much telco-based in the past to more and more IT and application solution. You see here some of them where in the past it was very much just about network. Now it's more and more about services, more and more about collaboration, more and more about data center, about the Internet of Things, about security. And that's how I think we as telco need to adapt ourselves in this world by bringing more and more solutions, more and more services to our customers and integrating them in comprehensive and integrated solutions. One of the challenges to do that is that in the past we have been very much technology focused, and we pushed technology to customer, while we try now much more to be customer focused and to really understand what are the needs of our customers and how can we use technology to help the customer fulfill their needs. So it looks very easy, but it's very complex for big organizations to really change the focus. If you ask, when I started in the telco industry, I'm in telco industry for 5 years before I was in the FMCG industry, so I'm much more a marketeer and salesperson than a technology person. And in the beginning, when I entered the company and I had very bright engineers coming and showing me their latest technology, and I said, fine, but what does it bring me? How does it change my life as a customer or as a consumer or as an enterprise? And to be honest, very often I had a big blank. And I said, yeah, but that's a fantastic technology, don't you see it? And I said, no, I don't see it. And I know that I speak to a lot of IT people here. Just be aware of that it's not easy for your customers or for consumers to understand how technology works. And you need also probably to do the effort of explaining what does it bring to your customers to really make sure that you have a relevant story to your audience. And it is becoming more and more complex because technology is becoming more and more complex. I will skip that one for the sake of time. So one of our key challenges is that how do we transform our company to become much from a telco and sometimes an ICT provider to a digital service provider, and with a very strong customer focus, not only a technology focus. So not easy to do. A few examples of what we have done. We have, for instance, invested a lot in mobility. If you work in Brussels, you know that mobility is quite an issue in this country. We have taken a majority stake in a few companies, which is now called Be Mobile, where we really try to use big data, to use information to provide mobility solutions to companies and to customers. We have multimodal applications, we have traffic management application, we do CITS development, for instance, in the Netherlands. So that's one example of how technology can really help you by collecting data, by having real-time algorithm and compulsing very, very different sources of data, how that can really bring added value to companies, but also to a country. Smart retail is another example. We have invested together with other companies in City. City is a kind of application that starts from the city, where the city brings all their tourism, administrative, relevant information to the people traveling in the city, but where on the same time all the retailer, all the small shops can put their information, can have access to an e-commerce site, and can also have a whole loyalty card. So that's a way as well to recreate local ecosystems where you integrate city advantages, parking advantages, shop advantages, and provide them a service that very often only big companies can have access to. There's also a way how we, as local provider, against sometimes very big competitors, like a few I have named, like the Facebooks and the Google and the Microsoft of this world, how we think we can add value in our position by creating new type of ecosystem, integrating different data, and providing that to smaller local players that normally are not able to develop that. I have to look at the time and go faster. So we do that, as I've said, sometimes in investing in companies, sometimes in partnerships, sometimes in co-creation. We are more and more opening up our assets to local players like SMS, like carrier billing, like voice. These are all we built APIs whereby most of these assets are now available for startups, for small companies, where they have all their ideas in terms of application, in terms of new ideas, but they can use or assets or infrastructure to develop it. Internet of Things is also a very important one, where we provide access to sensor, to platform, to first logarithm and algorithm for small companies to be able to develop application based on the Internet of Things, which of course is something that will still grow a lot in the future. The challenges for us to get there is how do you transform a company which used to be very much a hardware company, an infrastructure company, into much more a solution company, customer-based company and not technological-based, and where you have to work much faster than in the past. You have to work about UI, user experience, you have to work around solutions, you have to work in small teams, you have to work in the agile mode with the Scrum methodology, with co-creation, design thinking with customer. So a hell of a job, I would say, in terms of transformation of a relatively big company to do that. So it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of communication, it's a lot of training, and I'm sure you are confronted in your job with probably the same type of question, and it's also very much working together, IT, business, customer, together in small teams. This is the only way I think it can work. If we continue to work in separate silos, we'll never be able to cope with the fast-changing environment around us. And perhaps I couldn't leave it as my last slide. I said what is also important for us as local provider is that we have a European context that is really helping us to create that ecosystem that favors investments instead of only favoring price and consumer prices, that create a level playing field between provider. Regulation for today a Skype or a WhatsApp is very different than regulation for telco provider, although we offer the same services. And that's why it's very much important to regulate on the service you offer and not on the technology that is behind. It was true and relevant, I think, 10 years ago. I think today it is not relevant. There is enough competition in Europe. One of the big challenge and issue we have in Europe is that our market is very fragmented. We have a lot of players, a very fragmented market, and I don't think it's by accident that all the big players in the new digital worlds are coming from the Americas, or mainly the United States, or are coming from China, because they have the critical mass to grow. They have also a regulation that helps them to innovate. I think one of our main challenge, then more at a European level, is how do we make Europe evolve towards one more European market with less regulation, more permissive way to do innovation, and regulate ex post and not ex ante. Give to company freedom to innovate and regulate afterwards if there are abuses, but don't try to regulate everything beforehand because you kill innovation, and in the end the only thing you will get is a very poor digital Europe, and a Europe which we completely overflooded by US or Asian competitor, which I really think it's a shame because we have a lot in our hands in Europe. We have strong skills, strong innovation, strong creativity, and I think it's a shame if we are not able together to make that work and create also a digital Europe which is worth its name. Thank you very much.